Hi, I'm Kim Richardson, and I help you organize and plan your genealogy research so that you can answer those tough genealogy questions. Have I found everything? How do I even know? Did I miss something? Fortunately, there's some guidelines that we can use to make sure that we have found everything, and that's what we're going to talk about today. The first thing that we can do is create a good, solid research question. We want to make sure that we're including three things with that: the name of our ancestor, the time frame to research, and the research location. So, for example, when did Isabel Mackenzie die? Between 1850 and 1855 in Sumter County, Alabama. Now, once I have a good research question, I want to try to zoom out just a little bit and get a context for what's going on, where they lived, and the time frame that I'm researching. I want to see the history of the county. I want to know if the boundaries of that county changed that could affect which courthouse I need to go research in. I want to look at the economic situation of that county at that time, because that's going to give me big clues about what records I can expect to find or what was going on with my ancestor and their struggles of the day. I want to know about the social aspect as well. That's just going to add a whole lot of context and help me have a better foundation and understanding as I move forward with the research process. I need to do a records survey. I need to look at a locality guide for the area and the time frame in which I want to research. Now, sometimes a local library or an archives will have a locality guide, but if not, you can certainly use things like Cindy's List or Family Search Wiki to look at the county and what records are available for that location in that time frame. My concern is, when did records start being recorded in that location, and who has those records today, and are there any missing chunks of time? So is this a burned courthouse? Were there natural disasters? Were the records lost over time? Are there missing chunks of time that could affect whether I'm even able to find records for my ancestor or not? As an example, let's look at Family Search really quickly. From the Family Search homepage, go down to Research Wiki, which is under the search, Research Wiki. Click on that, and it will take you to start to narrow down the location of interest. You can go to a state's page. For example, this is North Carolina, and see a lot of general information about that state. You can also go to a specific county's page. This is where it gets to be most helpful. You can see the county courthouse information, when that county started having records available and what type of record. It discusses record loss and gives you references. And from there, it begins to go into specific record types. And you get Now, once I've consulted that locality guide and I've kind of gotten a broader idea of what's going on in that county, and I know what records are available, it's time to compare the work I've already done with everything that's out there that I know to be available that will specifically answer my research question. So what I want to do first is conduct sort of an audit of my work. Now, audit may sound bad, but it's really a great thing in this sense. We need to test our work and see if there's something else out there that could answer our question. And it's a really easy process to do. What I want to do is grab that locality guide, wherever I found it, whatever it is. I want to grab that locality guide, and out of it, I want to make a list of all of the sources, free and paid sources. I want to make a list of all of the sources that I think will answer my research question, or that I could consult to answer my research question. And once I have that list, I want to go back through the list, only focusing on those items, and I want to rank them top to bottom. What is most likely in this list to answer my research question, and what is least likely to answer my research question? And I just want to have that ranked list that I can then lay down beside my research, put them side by side, and now I can go through that list. And if I have searched it, if I have looked for it, I can mark it off the list. And at the end of that process, that is going to give me a research plan a list of things that now I need to go back out and do another search for. And I'm going to start at the top of that list because those are the things that I said were more likely to answer my research question. So now I've got a plan of attack. Now I know exactly what I need to do to make sure that I have found everything. Along the way, there are some things that I've learned that will help you be more successful. One thing that you can do is to take a break. Just let your brain rest, quit thinking about the problem for a little while, and then come back to it. When you come back to it, it will give you a great objectivity and you can see things that you missed the first time around. You want to make sure that you're getting original records if at all possible. If what I'm consulting are indexes or transcriptions, things where other people have gone and looked at that original record and then they've typed it up, and now I'm looking at what they typed up, what I'm doing is I am allowing myself to rely on their interpretation of what that record said. I have no way to know if they missed something or they misspelled something or they misunderstood something until I go and I look at that original record for myself. And then I'm able to make the judgment call about that original record for myself. Now, I've come to understand also that we're not really looking for the answer right now. If you're watching this presentation because you want to know if you have found everything to answer your research question, it's because you know you're probably not looking for that answer in black and white. You are probably looking for hints and clues or leads that you can follow to then find the answer to your research question. And so one great tip for that is to print out the records and sit down and study them on paper. It is difficult for us to use electronic screens to do that. One, because it's a very small area, but two, it uses much more mental energy for us to study an electronic screen than to study it on paper. Paper is what we're more used to. That's what we grew up learning in school. It's easier to do deeper analysis when we're studying paper versus an electronic screen, and you're likely to see things that you missed the first time around. To make sure that you didn't miss anything, you want to really mine that data. You want to go line by line, word by word, really analyze that document. And one thing that I do is I take a blank piece of paper and I cover up everything but the top line. And I make myself study that. And then I pull it down and I study the second line and then study the third line. And I'll go all the way down through the document, really doing some deep analysis and looking at it word by word. And then I follow up on all those leads that I found while I was doing that. Timelines and charts can be particularly helpful when we're looking for a tough answer. Anytime you find holes in time, go back and try to fill those in. If you have a gap of time, that could be a big clue that that is where the answer to your research question lies. And so go back and try to fill that in. I will argue all day long that writing something out is what is going to break down a brick wall, and it is definitely going to show you if you have holes in your logic or if you have missed something. So sit down and in a narrative form, write out what your research is or what you have figured out so far, or write a theory and then write why you think that theory is correct. And you will start to see any gaps or errors that you have in your research. And that is going to be a big clue to help you know if you have found everything or not. Speaking of things that are overlooked or that are not found, make sure you're getting death certificates for everyone connected to your target ancestor that could potentially answer that particular research question. Look for small things like the cancellation on stamps or letters or the photographer's names for location clues. Maybe the photograph of a family member has the location where that photograph was taken, and you could go research in that place, or the cancellation on a letter would operate the same way. You can go research in that location and see if you can find clues about your target ancestor. Look at their occupation and the clues that that could hold. Were they moving around from place to place to get work? Are there clues? Look at the the last name and the other people in that area that had the same occupation, because occupations are still today handed down. So look at those. Don't overlook the witnesses on marriage records and deeds and probate records and wills and things like that. And then certainly always look for naming patterns in a family as well to help give you clues and answers. If you haven't done collateral relative research, you may not have found everything yet. If you are looking at your ancestor and, for example, let's say that you want to know who their parents were, but you can't figure it out. If you can look at that ancestor and connect them to someone else in that family, and then that person you can connect back to parents or grandparents, that also solidifies your target ancestor's place in that family. So if you cannot answer the question about your target ancestor, look at other relatives around them that you could substitute to find the same information to answer your ultimate research question. Very similarly, if you haven't done research into the groups of people around your ancestor, you may not have found everything yet. Today, even we operate in groups. We have our church family, we have our neighbors, we have associates, we have our work friends, we have all these groups that we belong to today. And if you were to research my neighbors and my church and the people I work with, you're learning things about me. And the same was true for your ancestor as well. So to answer questions about your ancestor, try to research those groups and maybe even find a particular person in that group that you could tie your ancestor to offer you more clues. Use your genealogy friends as resources. So reach out to genealogy societies. A lot of genealogy societies offer their members research help as a part or as a benefit of their membership. Submit queries to newsletters and to online forums. Many genealogy societies have roundtable sessions or work days where you can bring your research to the library and sit down with other members of that society and bounce ideas off of each other and help review each other's work to see if there's something else that they know of that could help you answer that research question. So here's the secret to know if you have found everything. You want to take your time and you want to consult experts and locality guides that you can pull sources out of to then compare against your work, to audit your work to see if you have found all of those things. And then you want to write it up to make sure that you don't have any gaps, errors, or conflicts in your research. Hey, I love talking about genealogy. And if you have a question about something in this presentation, please email me at kim@brickwallbustercards.com and I will be happy to answer your question.